Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest rendition of Tales from Outer Space. Taken from the subreddit HFY. All the relevant links will be down below. And as always, I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider supporting the channel. Now, on to the science fiction. Story number 1. Untried, written by Shogun CDN. Captain Hassan reviewed the latest engineering simulations. The situation had not improved. The ship's engines remained offline, and the momentum from the recent battle was pushing the crescent blade into the sun of the solar system. They had beaten the Jalum pirates that had been plaguing the shipping lane, but they were going to pay the price. Run another simulation. Change the variables until we find an answer, he commanded his senior engineer. Sir, the human is demanding access to the engine bay again, the engineer said. Hassan licked his face in exasperation. The human is going to be the death of them all. He was fairly certain it was a female. They all looked the same to him. It was part of an exchange program with a new species. The humans were new, but they had technology to offer. Where they had lagged in FTL drives, their shields and guns were ahead of what the Chams were using, so the High Council approved the exchange. It was a complete surprise that the Chams had encountered the humans in space at all. Based on their historical record, they had made their first halting steps outside the gravity well only 300 years ago. If their records were correct, the entire recorded history was rounding error compared to the Chams. Yet, there they were, floating through space with their primitive drives. It was almost comical how slow they were going. But by gods, they were armed to the teeth. It was those same weapons that had let the Chams make headway against the Jalum pirates for the first time in decades. The Cham High Council felt very grateful that the first encounters were handled by one of the more intelligent captains in the fleet, and that an alliance was quickly formed. This was only reinforced in the first engagement with the humans against the Jalum. When the Cham ships would parry and retreat, striking surgically, the humans plotted a direct path and smashed through whatever was in their way. Battles usually consisted of hours of ships dancing around each other, wearing down their shields. Human warfare was more violent, lighting up the black of the space with exploding ships and ordnance and ending much more quickly. But the humans' time aboard had been a complete mess. She seemed to take the same approach to her work as the humans did to warfare. Rather than running the simulations, the humans should barge ahead, trying to implement improvements and fixes recklessly, before all variables had been accounted for. That she had not blown a hole through the hull was more a testament of luck, rather than her skill, Hassan was sure. Her favorite phrase seemed to be, "Okay, try it again." The human had tried fixing the power situation earlier, but the engines were still not firing. Hassan had rerouted every spare computing core to the simulations, but the progress was still slow. And now this human wanted to waste more time with untested fixes. "Captain!" the human said, pushing past his engineer. "Yes, Chief Sheila," Hassan replied, doing his best to pronounce her odd name. "I need to get to the coupling axis. I think it's a routing problem, and I can bypass the damaged relay if I can just, Hassan raised his arm to silence her. "Chief, I gave you the opportunity to fix the problem out of respect for our arrangement with your ambassador, but your methods are ineffective. As we speak, we are running simulations which should, Now it was the chief's turn to interrupt, and she did not hesitate. "Which should run long enough to get us burned up by the red dwarf outside. We can't sit here and do nothing. My work on the coupling isn't going to slow down your simulations. I'm not going to need any computing power. This is not how we do things. We aren't doing nothing. We're looking at every conceivable variable," Hassan replied. "The only thing any of us are going to do in about 2 hours is get all nice and crispy," the chief replied. Hassan rested his face into the pads of his paws. The human was right in that sense. Nothing she could do would make the situation that much worse, really. "Fine, Chief, as you wish. If you want to feel useful, then be my guest," Hassan replied. Chief turned around and slung her tool bag over her shoulder. As she exited, she bumped into Hassan's engineer, and the two exchanged words Hassan could not hear. The engineer re-entered the office. "What did she say to you?" Hassan asked. "So, she said she was going to repair the power coupling. I said that it would not work, and she was just going to fail again," the engineer replied. "And she said she would fail better this time," the engineer said. Hassan looked at the red star filling his viewport and wondered what kind of lunatics that these humans were. End of story. Small on the Inside, written by Clonk 3D. Biggest sapient I ever knew was human. 'Course you couldn't tell him that. Crazy bastard thought he was small. No, it's true, I swear. Why don't you give up? You could have bolted them, I exclaimed. What, for calling me ugly? Asked the hulking brute beside me, opening his hand to accent his point. Yeah, teach him a lesson. Little dude, we gotta get you into anger management class one of these days. Besides, it's not like they were wrong. I am ugly. Hurting others to hide the fact isn't gonna fix it, said the dumbest idiot I knew. We walked farther away from the site where my friend's honor was besmirched. About half a mile later, a thought struck me. How do you do it? How is it that something so big can act so small? I mean, yeah, it always ends up backing down, even if you're in the right, I mused softly. Man, I don't think you get it. You know how some small animals are absolutely fearless and will scrap with something 10 times bigger than them? Well, I think ultimately it comes down to how important you believe you are compared to it all. You know, but look around you. You look at the walls and tools of this place. Everything here will keep ticking if I die. Ultimately, the universe doesn't care about it, and only a lucky few get to alter its course. So, where does that put you in the grand scheme of it all? Came the reply. After a brief pause, the human continued. It leaves you in a space you see now, the 4 walls that surround you and the people that fill them. That's the only universe that really matters, and even in that small universe, I am tiny. So, in the full one, I am nothing more than a speck of dust. I am small, it is plain as day, and since I am small, the biggest things I can do are small too. Things can be small and still matter. He flashed a smile at me while saying, Still, the point I'm trying to make is that, since I'm small, I matter little. Thus, any insult against me is a small thing. It's not worth fighting over. Gotta save that energy for doing big things. So this whole I'm small thing isn't just a metaphor for your character not holding much value to you. Yes, I mean in a way. But it's more than that. When I say I'm small, I mean it in the sincerest sense of the word. Somewhere in my head is a voice that remembers being a child, being small, and it says that I'm still that way. No matter how much I can lift, how dangerous of a creature I am in the galaxy at large, I am still a small creature trying to be just a little bit less small, wanting to do what I can't. It's why I work myself until my body tells me that more will damage me. It's why I sleep with a pillow between my arms, and it's why I freeze up when caught doing something compromising. He then sighed. We spent another minute walking in silence. I don't think anything can truly convince me that I'm large, and I think that in many respects that's a good thing. I think that I'd been crazy if I felt I was large enough to drop those worries held by the small. Sorry for getting deep there, man. I just hope to get out that, you know. Yeah, still miss that human. We had a lot of good times. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.